Greetings, everyone, and Merry Christmas. I am Pete Pardo from Sea of Tranquility. Just wanted to put up a quick little video wishing everybody a happy holiday season here on this Christmas morning, and want to let everybody know who's watching and everybody who participates in this channel. I want to let them know how much you all mean to the success of Sea of Tranquility. We've reached lots of highs this year in 2023. Yeah, it was a weird year for a lot of reasons, but I think as far as the channel goes, I think this was a very good year for Sea of Tranquility. We passed 90,000 subscribers. We're almost at 91 already. We just announced 90 like, I don't know, a week or two ago, not even. And so we're off to the races heading towards 1,000. We've put up a lot of content this year, and a lot of really good content. We've got some new shows, we've got some classic shows that are still doing really well. I mean, the flagship shows of the channel, which are the Hudson Valley Squares, Friday Morning at the Funhouse with Martin Popoff, and In the Prague Seat, are all thriving and doing really, really well. We've got lots of other shows that have come up that are also become very, very popular. UK Connection, 4 Fusion Friday, It's All About the Fuzz. We've got The Curse of the Collected. We got The Monsters Den, another long-standing show which has just been gaining more and more viewers as we go along, and lots of other little monthly things that we've introduced, and new shows, and lots of new faces we've shown and brought onto the channel. And but of course, none of that would mean anything if it wasn't for you folks at home who watch often. Some of you watch really often, some of you just every now and then, some just maybe have a show or two they like on the channel based on what their interests are. That's totally cool. Like I often say, we kind of run Sea of Tranquility, the YouTube channel, like a cable network, right? It's like you got lots of different programming. Not everything we do is going to appeal to everyone, but hopefully you find a couple of shows or series, whatever you want to call them, on the channel, which is for you. Right? And those are the things you watch. If there are folks out there who watch everything we do, hey, that's great too. I'd be very surprised if that was the case all the time, but hey, you never know. You never know. And so today, this actually, I wanted to do something that was an idea from a viewer who sent me an email suggesting that this may be kind of nice. And I think it's something that I do want to do because I want to kind of say a little something about all the people who contribute to this great little show that we do here, or this great little channel that we do, I should say. So let's go down our roster of people. And some of these folks may only appear on 1 or 2 episodes a month, maybe 3, right? So, but every little bit that every person contributes, I think, is greatly appreciated by not only me, but all the people who watch the channel. So, and I wanted to say just a little bit of something to each one of them on this Christmas morning. And I hope I don't forget anybody. I have this feeling I'm going to, but we'll see. We'll see, because there's a lot of people who, like I said, may only appear once or twice a month, if that, on the channel, but their contributions are greatly valued. So I just have a whole list here. I hope I get everybody. George Lemmy. George is, as always for me, the pillar of reason. He's a highly organized guy who I love to bounce ideas and things off of every now and then. And when sometimes I'm really frazzled about something, I often reach out to George to kind of pull me off a ledge, because he's got that kind of calming ability, and is always really good at kind of asking me the right questions and helping me see through the fog at times, right? So George, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, my friend. Stephen Reed. Stephen Reed has been one of my right-hand men in Sea of Tranquility land for well over a decade. Not only, of course, originally on the webzine, but when I first brought him on the channel 3-4 years ago, after many years of bugging him to do so, he has really excelled quite a bit. He's got a loyal following of people who love watching anything he has to talk about. He's a fountain of knowledge when it comes to music, and who doesn't love chatting once a week at least with a very engaging Scotsman, right? So, yeah. So, Stephen Reed. Simon Bray. Like Stephen, Simon has been alongside me on the webzine for a decade or more. My shows with Simon are some of the most entertaining for me personally on the channel. His sense of humor is second to none. His deadpan delivery, he's such a fun person to have around. And We may not agree on a lot of our musical tastes and things, but that's okay. It always makes for good television. So Simon, love having you on board here. Louis Nasser, our bassist extraordinaire, our prog and metal lover from Mexico, and now in Chicago. Louis is a true hoot to have on the channel. And again, love his opinions on things. I like that he's got this analytical mind because, of course, he is a college professor and he's, he knows his physics, knows his music. And when he talks about stuff that he's passionate about, he brings a different perspective to things, which I think is really key to the channel. Love having him involved. Martin Popoff, my good buddy up from Canada. Martin and I have known each other a long time, but it wasn't until I brought him on to Sea of Tranquility that we really started to get to know each other even better. And I love my Friday morning shows with Martin. It's just two guys sitting talking music, and I respect his opinions quite a bit. I love his books, love his writing, and there's no better guy to have on a Friday morning at the Funhouse than Martin Popoff. Eric Porter. Eric Porter and I also know each other for a long, long time, but wasn't until I brought him on board to first start writing for the webzine a few years back, and then decided to bring him onto numerous shows on the channel, including in the Prog Seat and 4 Fusion Friday. That Eric and I really got to know each other. We both wrote for a website called Prognet way back in the 90s, right? We both attended Nearfest and kind of crossed paths here and there on the interwebs, but it's great to have Eric here on the channel, and Eric and I both are New Yorkers, and we've gone to lots of concerts together, and Eric and I think have developed a really strong friendship. So I love having Eric around. Ken Golden, I know Ken also close to 30 years, if not 30 years. I've been buying music from him forever. We would run into each other at prog festivals and concerts, and he's the professor of prog, man. Is there any album that he has not heard ever when it comes to prog, jazz, fusion, and all those related things? Probably not. He is another fountain of information, a fountain of opinions, and you got to have a professor around, right, when you're talking about some of this stuff. Chuck Alvarez. Chuck, another fellow New Yorker. I love Chuck's perspective. Chuck not only loves his prog, he loves his metal, he loves his kind of new wave and punk, and he's just got a quick wit about him, and he and I have a big love for a lot of the same jazz artists, and I've done some shows with him talking about classic jazz and fusion from like the late 60s and early 70s, and man, when I get off a show with Chuck, sometimes it's just, everything came from the heart and you feel good about what you just did. Awesome stuff. Chris Canzoneri, the Cans himself. I know Chris like over 40 years. For a good 45 years, probably a good chunk of my life. He actually went to school with my brother. He's my brother's age, and we became good friends through his friendship with my brother Rich. And he's just a good bud all around. He's got an insane sense of humor. His quick wit is just unparalleled. He brings so much to the Hudson Valley Squares, and now in the Prog Seat, where he's found a second home, and we love having him on Prog Seat. And he likes all sorts of cool music, so you can kind of plug him in anywhere, which I think is really, really cool. Love having him on the channel. Chad Hutchinson, Mr. Nearfest himself. Chad and I go back to when I first started attending Nearfest, the very first one in 1999. He was, him and Rob LaDuca set that whole festival up year in and year out. I knew Chad, but not that well during those Nearfest years, and it wasn't until one day he reached out to me and said, hey, I would love to help out. We haven't seen each other, spoken to each other in quite a while. I'd love to help out on the channel. Brought him and Rob onto an episode to just kind of reminisce about Nearfest, and then I decided to invite him onto Prog Seat one day, and he's still sitting in the Prog Seat. So, love having Chad around. Brings a really cool perspective. We have a lot of similar interests. He's a big beer lover just like me, so that helps as well. Love to chat beer and Prague with Chad. Big time. Love having him here. Anthony Ferrara, another Nearfest guy. We know a lot of the same people. We just started getting to know each other here. I invited him on to do a Steve Hackett album ranking, and he also is one of the flagship original members of In the Prog Seat. And the Yellow Hoodie, Eddie Jobson, all the, stars that he loves so much. Yeah, we all joke about it and stuff, but Anthony's such a good guy with a great heart. Love having him involved in the channel. Lynn Versace. Lynn is a fellow Hudson Valley person. I know her from the chants from all these years. That smile that brightens up any room that she's in, that laugh, right? That just passion and love for people and music is just unmatched. I mean, who doesn't love Lynn? Like I said, brightens up any room that she's in. Just a lovely human being, and love having her on SOT. Who else we got here? Chris Allo. I've known Chris a long time. Many, many years. I was introduced to Chris through Steve Keeler, who I know even longer. We'll get to Steve in a minute. Chris is my, brother from another mother. He and I can sit and talk about Black Sabbath till the sun goes down and then comes up again and goes down again. Love hanging with the guy. We could go out, have a couple beers, eat lots of good food, talk about Sabbath. He's a great guy to go to a concert with, great guy to go to a film festival with. He's also a fellow lover of horror movies like me. I could just sit and talk with Chris Allo for forever. Such a good guy. Steve Keeler. I know Steve now over 40 years, I guess. Again, another guy that I've been buying music from forever, till those early days of Rock Fantasy. And Steve has just, Steve is like the mayor of Middletown, New York. He's such a pillar in this community. And it's been really cool to kind of work with Steve over the years on the channel and, pushing local music and, helping him, to promote stuff through Sea of Tranquility and Rock Fantasy, and doing things together has just been really, really good. He's just such a good friend, and he has been for a long time. Butch Jones. Butch and I also go way, way back. I'll never forget the first time I met Butch. I was interviewing Fear Factory backstage in the Mid-Hudson Civic Center in Poughkeepsie, New York, and he was sitting. He knew Burton Bell, the singer, and so as I'm doing the interview with Burton, Butch is sitting right there with him. We started talking. Butch eventually came on to write for Sea of Tranquility for many, many years. We started hanging out and going to shows together and meeting up at shows. And then, one day we had the Hudson Valley Squares going for maybe 6 months or a year. And I'm like, you want to join the Hudson Valley Squares? You're a Hudson Valley guy. And there you have it. So I love Butch, love his passion for all things Thin Lizzy and whatnot. It's just awesome stuff. Nick Franco. Met Nick Franco through Steve Keeler and Ryan Scow and all these other folks. I remember the first time I met Nick, I thought he was like the craziest guy I'd ever known. But the more I got to know Nick, I know that he's just such a really good human being. Has this love and passion for extreme music. Great family man, lover of animals. He and I have sat down and talked about our love for dogs and our dogs and just animals in general many, many times. And again, just a really, really fun person with another really, really big heart. Ryan Scow. I know Ryan Scow, who's now, I still can't believe Ryan is 40 years old or over 40, but I know Ryan since he was 20 years old, and he was, just a kid and had hair. And Ryan also just, music just runs through him. If he bleeds heavy metal. He's just so passionate about what he loves to do, and he's just always been so good with giving up his time. Anytime I need someone, Ryan is always there, and we're practically neighbors now, and he lives right down the road now. But Ryan, just such a good guy that's just so easy to work with, and he has made a real name for himself out there in the world. He can't go anywhere now without people recognizing him. And again, a guy with a great sense of humor, quick wit. Nobody listens to more crazy underground shit that you never heard before than Ryan Scow. Just awesome stuff. Count Ralphus himself, Ralph Tambora. I don't know Ralph as long as I know some of these other guys, but Ralph and I had met a few times here and there, and then I don't know, a few years back, he was at a show at the Chance that I was at. I don't remember what the show was, and he came up to me and he goes, Pete, I got to tell you, I still watch the channel all the time, and I would love, you mentioned you were going to do a King Kong episode on the Monsters Den. I would really love to join that episode because I have all sorts of cool King Kong toys and memorabilia. And I said, okay, Ralph, we're going to do it. And he came on and he did a great job. And then I went on Steve Keeler's channel a bunch of times, and Ralph is a regular over there. And then I was like, geez, he would fit in great with the Hudson Valley Squares. And Keeler was like, yeah, you should bring him on. And he's been a pillar of the show ever since. He's got so many things to show. He's got a great collection of vinyl and toys and props and books and things like that. And he, again, very, very passionate about the music that he loves and always has really, really interesting things to add to any conversation. Rob Lasanti. Rob Lasanti has been a follower of the Sea of Tranquility webzine since the beginning. Right? Another local Hudson Valley guy. I would run into Rob every now and then. Rob used to send me emails from time to time, how much he loved the webzine. And then when we started the channel, I would run into Rob at concerts, be like, oh, I watched the channel, all this stuff. And then, when we were looking to beef up the lineup of the Hudson Valley Squares, I said to Rob, I was like, would you like to come on? I invited him on a couple things. We did like a little Evergrey show together. I brought him on as a guest viewer. And then I'm like, would you like to be on the Hudson Valley Squares as a regular? Because you would fit right in. You're a local guy and you love your metal. And he's been there ever since. And now he's become part of the team. Just awesome stuff. Speaking of bringing someone on to be part of the team, Craig Kaminsky. Craig Kaminsky, another guy who was a loyal viewer of the channel, and after meeting him at one of the 24-hour shows, horror shows in Pennsylvania, brought Craig on to guest on an episode of The Monsters Den. He became a regular on The Monsters Den. We needed someone extra on the Hudson Valley Squares. Brought him on the Hudson Valley Squares. Done album rankings with him. Everybody loves Craig. Craig has become one of the family and such a good guy with a great heart, great soul. And he loves his music, loves his monster movies. Just so good to have him on board. Karen LaPreziosa. So I got introduced to Karen through like Ryan and Nick and Steve Keeler. And Karen also was following the channel. We had hung out a bunch of times, and I said to her one day, I was like, would you like to be on the Hudson Valley Squares too? Because she loves her metal, loves her punk, loves her, stoner and psych and doom and all that kind of stuff. And Karen has been a familiar face on the Hudson Valley Squares ever since, and we even created a new show together called It's All About the Fuzz. Love to have Karen on board. Bryce from Bryce Talks Metal. So Bryce and I Bryce has his own channel. We had done some work together. I appeared on his channel. He appeared on my channel. And then one day when we were at getting ready for SOT Fall Fest last year, we were all out to dinner. He traveled all the way up from Georgia to come to the festival. Does that show you support right there, right? And halfway through dinner, I talked to a couple of my HVS and Prog Seat guys who were there at the table, and I'm like, I think I want to bring Bryce on board as an honorary member of the Hudson Valley Squares. And right then and there, I asked him, and he said yes. So he's been a little silent on the channel of late, but I know he's taking time to do some other things, so we should hopefully see him again soon someday. Sydney Taylor, we miss having Sydney on Hudson Valley Squares big time. But Sydney, she only appeared once all year on the channel at I think the first episode of the year on Hudson Valley Squares. But she, Sydney's going on to big things. She's touring, working with Alice Cooper, Winery Dogs, working with Mr. Big. She's running merch and doing all sorts of stuff. Sydney is going places. Sydney's going to do big things. And while we would love to have her whenever she can find time, we totally appreciate and are proud of all the things she's accomplished and will accomplish going forward. So, yeah. Jamie Laszlo. Another one of those guys who you can kind of plug anywhere on the channel. He's appeared on every single show we do on the channel. He's a regular on the Monsters Den. He's a regular on Curse of the Collector. Jamie is another guy. He loves everything. He likes all kinds of films, all kinds of music. So whether you're talking metal or talking prog or talking hard rock or pop, whatever, Jamie's a guy you can always reach for. He's so creative. I love his sense of humor. I love that he's the man, doing bits and props and things like that. Unmatched. And he always goes the extra mile, always does the homework. Just love having him around. He's so great. Davey Gallagher, our second Scotsman on the channel. Davey also has his own channel, and we kind of got together, started doing some things together. He's now a regular on both the Monsters Den and the Curse of the Collector. Again, so knowledgeable, loves his film, loves his music. He's a true historian. You need the factoids. Davey's the guy, and he's got that Scottish sense of humor, right? Such a wealth of information to have. Let's see. Rick Labonte. Another one of our Canadian friends. Rick is another guy who has appeared just about on every show on the channel. We love having him around. He's so enthusiastic about everything that he feels passionate about, and that's the key. Viewers love him because of that passion, because of that excitement. When Rick is talking about something that he really loves it. So, whatever the music style it is, he loves Uriah Heep and Deep Purple just as much as I do, as well as a lot of other bands. So I love having Rick on The Curse of the Collector. He's appeared on Prog Seed, appeared on Hudson Valley Squares. We've done album rankings together, all sorts of stuff. Rick is a true treasure. Let's see, what else? Dan Brown, my buddy from here local, right? He owns a warehouse, a great restaurant and bar here in the Hudson Valley, and just a wealth of information when it comes to classic film and classic music, classic rock. Dan's just such a good guy, and he always takes care of us whenever people travel into the area from the channel. He always opens up his restaurant to all of us. Gotta love it. Such a great guy. Again, another guy with a really, really great heart. Let's see. Scott Berry. All right. Our boy from Austin. Yeah, Scott, originally I got to know Scott because he's a big comic book guy, and we belong to a Facebook page here that looks at like classic Marvel comics from like the 60s into the early 80s, and we got to know each other there, and I found out he was also a really good, really big fan of music, and he started watching the music channel as well as the Comic Book Geezers channel, and I brought Scott on as a guest on a couple episodes, and he became a regular on The Curse of the Collectors, and he also appears on Comic Book Geezers from time to time as well. Love Scott, just such a good guy, and anyone who loves music and comics just as much as I do is A-OK in my book. Let's see. Jim Bakke. I mean, I love Jim. Not only do I love Jim because he's a great guitar player and he plays in a couple bands that I think are absolutely terrific, but Jim is just a pleasure to have on Sea of Tranquility. Again, wherever he shows up, he used to be on the regular on the Guitars Corner. He's shown up on Hudson Valley Squares. He's done album rankings with me. I love having Jim on. He just loves music with everything in him, and you can tell because the bands whether it's Hitman or Fuzz Bubble or the brand new band that he's doing right now, which is Max Boogie Overdrive. I mean, just love people who have a passion for music and all different kinds of music, right? Just a great guy. Jack Toledano. Jack is an old buddy of mine. We went to college together. We know each other about 40 years. And Jack's another guy who has, he started up his own channel, right? Because I couldn't fit him into enough stuff on here, so all or nada according to Jack. But whenever I have some cool ideas, I am always quick to call up Jack and be like, hey, you want to do this show with me or with this panel or whatever? He's guested on a lot of different shows across the channel, and we got some stuff that we're working on going into 2024. So stay tuned for that. Got a lot more to do with Mr. Toledano. Rich Catino. Again, I knew Rich before coming to the channel. Rich and I have met in photo pits of many New York and New Jersey concerts where we're shooting bands and concerts and things like that. And I one day said to Rich, or he said to me, he goes, when are we going to collaborate together? And we did a couple like metal themed shows, a couple rankings. I made him an honorary member of both the Monsters Den and the Hudson Valley Squares. We haven't seen him a lot of late because he's doing so many different things, but we also have been talking about a bunch of shows we're going to do in early 2024. So love Rich. He's just such a good guy, right? And anybody who pulls a Catino all the time like he does, gotta love someone like that, right? Who else we got here? Phil Aston. Phil is a late comer to Sea of Tranquility. He joined us this year. We do songs that define a guitar player each and every month. I love Phil. I love British guys in general, right? I love talking to them and just having conversations, discussions about music. And Phil is just he's so passionate about the music. He's so well-spoken, so warm and inviting. Any conversation and discussion with Phil about music is something that I get a lot of pleasure out of him. When I get done doing an episode with him, I always look at Phil and I'm like, that was really good. Right, it's really good. That was a really good conversation we had. So I love having Phil on the channel. He's been a really good new person to bring on board. And Brendan Snyder, right? So Brendan has only appeared on a couple shows on Sea of Tranquility, and I've been aware of him for a long time, and he of me. And just one day I was just like, after a bunch of viewers like, you guys should work together. And I was like, I reached out to him like, let's collaborate, let's do something. Brendan and I did a couple really good shows together. One with just he and I, one with he and I and a few other people, and I think they all came out really, really good. And I'm looking forward to doing more stuff with him in 2024 because I think there's lots more conversations to be had. Another new guy, Scott Lade from the Prog Corner. Who doesn't love that crazy exuberance of Scott, He knows his prog, man, and he loves his prog. And it's like when I want to do a prog show that's outside of what we do in the prog seat, Scott is the guy that I call up. So lately we've been doing like once a month, we do a show just talking prog, maybe different stuff that we talk about in the prog seat. And it's good because when I'm on with Scott, it's like his passion and excitement rubs off on me, and that's, I think, a really, really good thing. So yeah, I hope I included everybody. I'm always thinking that I'm missing someone, right? Jack, Jim, Phil, Scott, Rick, Dan. I think I got everybody. God, I hope I got everybody. See, I'm always afraid. I know there's always going to be one person that I'm forgetting here, and so if for any of my regulars or semi-regulars, if somehow I forgot you in this discussion, I apologize. It's really hard. I went through every show and I'm thinking, did I get everybody? Did I get everybody? So if I forgot to mention your name and what I love most about working with you, I apologize, but I will do a separate video if I have to tell that little story. So anyway, thanks for watching. I am Pete Pardo. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube, all together, all the damn time. I just realized that I did not turn the lights on, which is terrible of me. Hold on. There we go. All right. Can't give a last Christmas wish until you put the lights on. Frosty has been telling me, it's like, Pete, you didn't turn me on. You didn't turn me on. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, everybody. Thank you so much. Love you all. And I hope you have a pleasant day here on this Christmas day. And we'll see you on the flip side. So take care. Bye-bye.